This is the story of Lena, a young girl who left home one evening and never returned. She was kind, smart, and full of dreams, but one day a dangerous man crossed her path. This story is about fear, danger, and the importance of staying safe. Listen carefully. This is Lena's story. It was a quiet Saturday morning in the small town of Brookside. 17-year-old Lena woke up early. She wanted to travel to the nearby city to meet her friend. She put on her favourite jacket, took her small bag, and told her mother, "I'll be back this evening. Don't worry." Her mother smiled, but she always felt protective of her daughter. At the bus stop, Lena waited alone. The road was empty. The wind was cold. A white car stopped in front of her. The driver, a middle-aged man, opened the window. "City centre. I can take you," he said. Lena hesitated for a moment, but she needed to arrive quickly, and shared rides were common. She opened the door and got in. The car drove away. Slowly at first. Then faster and faster Lena looked out the window. The road was going the wrong way. "Sir, this isn't the main road," she said quietly. The driver didn't answer. Lena felt a cold fear growing in her chest. Her phone had no signal. Her heart began to beat faster. She reached for the door handle. "Muck!" But the child lock was on. The man finally spoke, in a low, frightening voice. "No one will find you out here." The car turned off the main road and disappeared into the forest. That evening, Lena did not come home. By night, everyone knew. Something terrible had happened. Lena did not return home that evening. Her family became very worried. They called her phone again and again, but there was no answer. Early the next morning, detectives arrived. They started looking for Lena immediately. They went to the bus stop. A witness said, "I saw a girl in a jacket. She got into a white car." The man drove into the forest. The detectives wrote down everything. They checked the road cameras and phone signals, but there was no sign of Lena. People from the town came to help. They walked in the fields and near the river, calling her name. "Lena, Lena, are you there?" But the forest was silent. Only the wind moved the trees. Meanwhile, Victor drove Lena far away from the town. She was very scared. Her hands were cold, and she could not escape. The people outside continued searching, but Victor was careful. He knew all the small paths and hidden places in the forest. Lena realized she was trapped. She could not run. She could only hope someone would find her in time. The night grew darker, and the danger grew closer. Victor drove Lena deeper into the forest. The trees were tall and dark. The car moved on a small, narrow road. Lena was very scared. Her hands shook. Her heart beat fast. Victor spoke softly, but his voice was cold. "No one will find you here. You cannot leave." He stopped near an old abandoned cabin. Lena saw that it was broken and quiet. Victor opened the door and pulled her inside. The door closed behind them with a loud sound. Outside, people were still searching. They called Lena's name again and again. "Lena, Lena, are you there?" But the forest was silent. The wind moved the branches, but there was no answer. Inside the cabin, Lena realized she could not escape. She tried to stay calm, but fear was stronger than hope. Victor left the room for a short time. Lena looked around. There was nowhere to run. The windows were broken but too high to climb. The darkness of the forest seemed to follow her. She understood something terrible would happen soon. The night grew colder, and Victor's shadow grew closer. The night was very quiet. Lena sat on the floor of the cabin, shivering. Her jacket was torn, her hands were cold. Victor came back into the room. He looked at her with a strange, angry smile. "You cannot escape," he said. Lena tried to speak, but her voice was small and weak. "Please, let me go." Victor ignored her words. He moved closer. The fear in Lena's heart grew. Outside, the wind howled through the broken windows. The forest was silent, hiding the cries of the girl Lena thought about her family and friends. She wished someone would find her in time. But deep inside, she felt she was trapped. Victor's face was cold and serious. He said nothing more. The silence was heavy, frightening, and final. That night, Lena's life ended in the cabin. The forest took her cries. The town would search for her, but they would not find her alive. Her story became a shadow over the town, a warning of danger and fear. The people outside still called her name, but only the wind answered. The next morning, the town realized Lena had disappeared. People searched the forest, the roads, and the river again and again. They called her name, but there was no answer. The detectives checked every path. They found the broken windows of the cabin. They saw footprints, but it was too late. Victor was gone. He disappeared into the shadows of the forest. No one knew where he went. The town felt heavy with sadness. Lena's family cried for days. Neighbours and friends lit candles and left flowers in the streets. The detectives continued investigating. They tried to find Victor, but the forest was large and he was careful. The people of the town remembered Lena. Her smile, her laughter, her kindness. But the fear remained. Everyone learned to be more careful. The forest, once a place of beauty, became a place of warning. And even though she was gone, Lena's story stayed alive. Her memory reminded everyone. Danger can hide in the quietest places, and sometimes it comes when you least expect it. After Lena's death, the detectives searched everywhere for Victor. They checked the forest, the roads, and all the small villages nearby. They questioned people who saw a white car. Some remembered a man driving fast alone with a serious face. Victor was careful. He changed cars and moved quietly at night. The detectives felt he was always one step ahead. The town was afraid. People stayed inside after dark. They watched the forest from their windows. The detectives found a small clue near the cabin. A piece of torn cloth, the same colour as Victor's jacket. It proved he had been in the area recently. Even with this clue, Victor was gone. The detectives did not give up. They knew he was dangerous. They knew he could hurt someone else if they didn't find him soon. The search became more organised. Teams went into the forest every day. People from the town helped, but they stayed safe. Victor's shadow still haunted the town. Everyone remembered Lena. And everyone waited for the day the man who caused this tragedy would be caught. Days turned into weeks. The detectives never stopped searching for Victor. Finally, A witness saw him near a small village far from the town. They called the detectives immediately. Victor tried to run, but the detectives were ready. They surrounded him quickly. "Stop! Police!" one detective shouted. Victor raised his hands but did not speak. He looked tired, angry, and defeated. He was arrested. No one was hurt this time. But the memory of Lena's tragedy weighed heavily on everyone. The town finally felt some relief. Victor could no longer hide. Justice would take its course. The detectives collected evidence from the cabin and the forest. They confirmed everything. Victor was responsible for Lena's death. Even though Lena was gone, the town remembered her. Her story became a warning. Be careful, even when the road seems safe. Danger can hide behind friendly faces. The forest was quiet again, but the shadow of Victor's crime remained in the hearts of the people. Lena's memory stayed alive, and the detectives promised to protect the town from any future danger. The town slowly returned to normal, but Lena's story stayed in everyone's hearts. People lit candles and left flowers near the forest road where she was last seen. They remembered her smile, her kindness, and her dreams. The detectives gave statements to the town. They explained how they found Victor and collected the evidence. Victor would now face justice for his crimes. Even though nothing could bring Lena back, her story became important. It reminded the town to stay careful, to watch for danger, and to protect each other. Friends and neighbours shared stories about Lena. Her life, though short, inspired people to be kind and brave. The forest became a place of respect. People remembered that shadows can hide in quiet places. But they also remembered that courage, care, and community can shine through even the darkest times. Lena's memory stayed alive in the town. Her story would never be forgotten. The town learned a hard lesson from Lena's story. Even though she was gone, people remembered her. They remembered how fragile life can be. They remembered the importance of looking out for one another. The detectives continued their work, making sure Victor could never harm anyone again. Parents taught their children to be careful, and neighbours watched out for each other. Lena's story became more than just a tragedy. It became a reminder to the whole town. Always stay aware. Trust your instincts. And never ignore danger, even in a quiet place. Though Lena's life was taken too soon, her memory inspired courage, care, and vigilance in everyone around her. The town healed slowly, but the lesson remained forever. Her story would live on, not just as a memory, but as a warning and a guide for the future. Thank you for listening to Lena's story. It is a sad and painful story, but it reminds us to be careful, and to protect the people we love. Lena will always be remembered. Her story teaches us to stay safe, to trust our feelings, and to never walk alone in dangerous places. If you want more stories like this, please follow the channel, stay safe, and take care of yourself and others.